Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's World Championship 2011 over the Nexus has way too long of a name and might as well be considered the last actually good Yu-Gi-Oh! Single-player video game to ever release in the West. You take on the role of your own character and play through the story of the second season of 5D's until the dub decides to just stop, with slight changes that make you the main character of said story. While progressing through the game, you get to open packs and get cards gifted by NPCs, which you use to progressively strengthen your deck, with the obvious goal of having a good deck at the end. But what if we decided to play a bad deck instead? In this challenge, I'll try, and probably fail to be honest, to play through the entirety of YGO 5D's WC 2011 OTN, with my only deck option being Ice Barriers. Ice Barriers are by far not the worst deck in the game, but they're the most infamous for being a bad deck because of their generally underwhelming effects as well as multiple design flaws. A lot of design flaws. So let's go over the rules real quick. I am not allowed to use monsters other than Ice Barriers. I am, however, allowed to use all kinds of spells and traps. I start off with every Ice Barrier card in the game, except for Trishula, for reasons we'll get to later. Whenever I lose a story duel that isn't mandatory to win, I still need to reload the last save state and duel them again until I beat them. And I am not allowed to buy singles via card codes. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's World Championship 2011 over the Nexus for Nintendo DS, but instead of playing the game as intended, I forced myself to only use Ice Barrier monsters to play through the game. Also, quick shout out to Vlad, aka Mad Scientist. He plays the game the intended way, so if you want to see someone who's actually good at the game and doesn't make the flow and bounce itself, check him out. We start the challenge by deleting the test account and selecting the United States as our country, since living there is probably as agonizing as this challenge is gonna be, and name our character after God. We also get to design our own character, but I couldn't care less. I have to use intended methods to give myself the whole card list so that I can unlock every Ice Barrier with my unlimited DP. Yes, you can buy singles in this game, Duel Links can learn a lot from it. You can see that I still have quite a lot of DP left, but we'll just pretend the first 3 digits don't exist for the rest of the challenge. Now that we have all Ice Barriers unlocked, I should probably go through their effects real quick, cause I assume there isn't a single human being on Earth who put themselves through reading all Ice Barrier cards. Bliss to draws a card when destroyed, too slow. Caravan recycles 2 Ice Barriers in the grave and makes both players draw a card, shit stats and we don't want to give our opponent free cards. Cryomancer prevents level 4 or higher monsters from attacking if we have another Ice Barrier. It's a level 2 tuner that can stall for a turn or 2, so it's fine I guess. Secret Guards prevents the opponent from targeting your Ice Barriers with monster effects, way too specific. Defender prevents the opponent from attacking with monsters with attack higher than its own defense while you control another Ice Barrier. Just like Cryomancer, it's a tuner that can stall a little, so it's fine. Geomancer lets you discard a card to prevent it being attacked by monsters of an attribute of your choice. It's a level 3 tuner that can actually stall by itself, so it's quite alright. Shock Troops of the Ice Barrier tribute themselves to pop a water monster and add another Ice Barrier. Really good against water decks, but otherwise just a vanilla. Warlock is basically an anti-spell fragrance on legs while you control another Ice Barrier. Very weak stats and an effect that may hurt you even more than your opponent. Dance Princess lets you reveal a number of Ice Barriers from your hand to bounce the same number of your opponent's back row. Level 4, good stats and a good effect, 3-odd without debate. The Bug locks an opponent's monster zone when it's normal summoned, but the stats suggest to rather set it, and its defense isn't even the highest of level 4 Ice Barriers, so it's just not worth it. Pilgrim can't be destroyed by battle with a monster with 1900 or more attack, something to consider when we have to resort to extreme stall strategies. We don't talk about Samurai. Spellbreaker discards an Ice Barrier to shut down spells until the end of your next turn, 2000 defense on a level 4 and basically just Warlock's effect but better. Strategist lets you discard an Ice Barrier to try and draw actually good cards. Dice Soldier switches itself to defense on summon and protects your Ice Barriers from spell and trap effect destruction. Very good effect, but also quite a big investment considering it's Ice Barriers we're dealing with. Raiho forces the opponent to discard a card if they want to activate monster effects on the field, which can easily give us the upper hand and card advantage, but once again the investment is quite big. Intala and Gunnar have effects that don't belong on monsters that require 2 tributes, and this isn't Pendulum Format, so medium will never come up. We also don't talk about Royal Knight. Medallion is Rhoda for the entire deck, and Triangle requires you to draw bad cards to use it. Mirror is not worth talking about. Brainek discards to bounce, and Gangnir discards to pop, while Devlowen bounces own cards to gain tag, which has some synergy with other cards. Now that that's out of the way, we can finally build the first abomination of a deck list. Which in this case is just the quote-unquote good ice barrier cards, as well as some spells and traps from the starter deck. Now the story begins with us waking up in the land of the freedom of not being able to afford an ambulance, where German grandpa tells us everything about our economic status for some reason, to which we proceed to behave like the responsible adult we are and play card games with children instead of doing anything remotely productive. Our first opponent of the series is West, and of course we decide who's going first like you usually do it in America. With guns. Man, my audience surely is gonna love all those America jokes. Anyways, we go first and set for pass. Man, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was so much better back then. He makes Armory Arm and runs over our set Geomancer, which we just summon back with Limit Reverse. You're going to see this a lot. On our turn, we Dice Sojo Pass, since that's apparently the best play we have. Let's fucking go. Our opponent then proceeds to limit her removal to run over a monster, but he can't legally do that without our consent, so we just say no. Oh, and also his whole field gets blown up. He passes back to us and we Cryomancer attack pass. Very exciting gameplay. He sets and passes, so I decide I might as well play with my food while I'm at it. I lock him out of spells with Spellbreaker and summon the Vlowen, which bounces my Limit Reverse, which has been vibing on the field for like 700 turns now. His set monster floats, which just makes us way more dragged out than it really needs to be. We once again use Limiter Removal to bring back Geomancer and go into Gungnir. We bounce Limit Reverse once more and go in for 66 damage. From here on out I just abuse the Vlowen Limit Removal strategy a little more and attack for game. And as a reward for winning we get a card we cannot use. If you enjoyed the video so far, please make sure to subscribe and commit war crimes against the like button. Our next opponent is Nico, who we summon a monster and set 3 back row against. Sounds kinda familiar. She T-sets and the Limit Reverse shenanigans start once more. We summon Raiho and attack. Oh god, it's Naturia Beans, which can't be destroyed by battle once and burns for 500. Truly magnificent. She actually decides to discard to use the effect for 500 burn damage, which is a weird decision, but of course she has the star item to discard, how very convenient. She proceeds to T-set again, very interesting, so I might as well start the Vlowen loop again. She keeps doing nothing but setting monsters, so this was not really a challenge as well. But our reward this time is another card we cannot use. We proceed to do some duel puzzles, which I won't show footage of for reasons. Next we get to know Tofu and move on to the card store, where we are forced to participate in a rental deck tournament, and since none of the decks are even remotely Ice Barrier related, we technically lost the challenge. So we're just gonna pretend those events never happened. At this point I decide it's probably time to give in to my severe gambling addiction and start my own sealed only journey. I buy one starter deck, which gets us some nice early game staples, and spend the rest of our DP on Dark Beginnings 1, as that one has the most good cards such as Monster Reborn, TT, Call of the Haunted, Dark Hole and MST. We actually pull some of those and move on to power up our deck. Basically the same list, just better spells and traps. We also meet that one guy who didn't make it to the events that definitely never happened, who challenges us to a duel. But considering how easy the first 2 duels were, this shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Oh.